Hey there, it's Andy with RosenbergPianoLessons.com. I had a question come up on Reddit, and what it says is this is by Ruth Denosini. I don't know how to pronounce this. I'm just gonna say Ruth. It says I just started learning piano, Alfred's Method book, having trouble subdivision of beats, particularly with dotted quarter notes, which is a very common problem. Currently working on Alouette and Kumbaya. But you see, understanding rhythms is really mostly about like understanding the relationships between the rhythms. That like a half note is worth two beats, so two quarter notes goes into a half note, or two eighth notes goes into a quarter note, that kind of thing. We're going to look at an example of Silent Night. Okay, the first thing I've done is here in Silent Night, I've created it in like a 6/4. And if you don't understand what that means, very simply, normally we do 4 beats in a measure is what you've seen so far. But now we're just doing 6 beats in a measure. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's it. That's as complicated as 6/4 gets. So I'm going to play this real quick. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we understand, I think, that a dotted half note gets 3 beats. Okay, so this would be 1, 2, 3. Quarter note gets 1. Half note gets 2. This is a dotted whole note, which you probably haven't seen before. This gets 6 beats, the whole thing. Okay, and then this is 3 beats. It just repeats 3 beats, 1 beat, 2 beat, 6 beats. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna play this again. Also, don't be confused about you're seeing like 3 staffs here, which you've probably not seen very much of. I just created this here so that it's showing us the divisions and so that it plays something for us like a drum. Okay, so that's all that this is about. Our focus is up here. All right? So what I'm going to do now is let it play, and I want you to play along with it. And it's just going to go on a cycle for a few minutes, and we're just going to get comfortable with it. One, two, three, four, five, six. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so what we have going on right now is just in like a 6/4 configuration. But what we're going to do is we're going to change the way we're counting this. So instead of saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is proper for 6/4, I'm going to change this so that we are now saying 1 and 2 and 3 and. Now this is not normally how we count in 6/4. This is normally how we count in 3, if this was a 3 over here, which we're going to get to in a minute. But for now, we're just going to pretend, and we're going to say 1 and 2 and 3 and. 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 Now you're going to notice there that the quarter note only got and. It didn't get a 2, it didn't get a 3 or a number, it just only got an and. But the half note here is getting a 3 and an and. Alright? The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take out every other beat. Well, I'm not taking out the beat. I shouldn't say that. I'm taking out every other hit on the metronome, so that you're only going to hear the metronome playing on beats 1, 2, and 3. So let's do that. Play that so that you can hear what that sounds like. Okay, now, all of a sudden, it sounds like this note is coming in between this beat and that beat, which is correct when we're in a 3 time signature, that will be correct, as we will see. So I'm going to do this again, and then I'm going to let it play for a couple of cycles. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. So notice the ands are still there, whether or not we are playing anything. This is still an and here. There is still an and here, whether we're actually playing something or if there's nothing there. The structure is still there. 1 and 2 and 3 and. All right. Even if we count 1, 2, 3, the ands are still in between the 1 and the 2 and the 3. Like if I go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and. The ands are still there whether I'm counting them or not. They exist. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is change this so that it's actually a 3 time signature, which is more appropriate for this song rather than a 6 time signature. So I've changed it to a 3/4 time signature, but now I have to cut everything in half. So this is a dotted half note, but it actually now should be a dotted quarter note. Okay, so now we have it in 3/4 time instead of 6/4 time. So instead of a dotted half note, we now have a dotted quarter note, which is worth 3/8 notes. To review, a quarter note is worth only 2/8 notes. And then when you add the dot here, you now have something that's worth 3/8 notes. Down here, this is just the beat, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And so we're going to notice that this dotted quarter note is going to get beat 1, and the and, which isn't written here but does exist there, and the dot, which comes on beat 2, but it does not extend into beat 2 and, which is right here. Okay? 2 and is right there. So now this beat is definitively coming in, this note, I should say, definitively is coming in between beat number 2 and beat number 3. Because an 8th note only gets either the number or the and, not both. Okay? And then this is just a normal quarter note, which gets the 3, and it gets the and here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some 8th notes down here just for visual comparison. So what I've done is I've created these bass drums down here on the 8th notes. So this is 1 and 2 and 3 and. If it's weird to you that it goes off of the staff, don't worry about that. We're only talking about the 8th notes portion of this. I could easily have gone up here, any of these notes, okay? And as soon as I come down off of the staff, it starts adding these, like the middle C's, you know, and then you can keep going. The reason I put it down here is the patch that I'm using uses this note for that bass sound, okay? So it's going to sound like this. So what you can hear now is that this is playing on beat 1, 2, 3, and these are playing on the 8th notes. However, that's not like real life. Usually you're going to have these on the 8th notes and these are every beat. So I'm quickly just going to switch these. Okay, so now I have put the 8th notes here and the quarter notes here. And that was just so that I had a sound that sounds more natural. And I'll let you hear it. See, now I've got a bass, bass, bass. And this is the closed hi-hat, which normally does the 8th notes. Okay, so if any of that was confusing, just let it go and understand that we are now in 3/4 time. That's the main point, that we're on the dotted quarter note here instead of a dotted half note that we had before. We do have a dotted half note over here, which you may recall from the 6/4 time was a dotted whole note, and now we changed it to the half note. Okay, so what's happening now is we have the exact same thing that we had in 6/4 time, except we are now in 3/4 time, and we are dealing with 8th notes. in 6/4 time, we would have counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You know, so it would have looked something like, or sounded something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now we are going to 1 and 2 and 3 and, because that's how we count eighth notes. 1 and, these two are eighth notes, right? 2 and 3 and. Here is where I think the main point of confusion comes in for most people. Okay, so suppose we didn't have these and we're only listening to this as a metronome, which is counting all the eighth notes as a metronome. Then listen to it. In this case, putting this here going along with the metronome is easy, somewhat easy, because you just have to count like 3 of those ticks and then it comes along with that next tick. But suppose we had these quarter notes here, but not the eighth notes being counted. Okay, now what's going to happen is you have to just know where this is halfway in between this beat and that beat, right? So let's listen. While that beat is happening, you should be in your mind thinking about these beats. You should be more or less hearing a 1 and 2 and 3 and, or like a if you're practicing with a metronome, which you should be, and it's counting like 1, 2, 3, and let's say it's at 60 beats per minute, you could always take that metronome and put it at 120 beats per minute, and now it's counting eighth notes. You understand? 1 and 2 and 3 and. The metronome would say 120 instead of 60, but in your mind, you know you didn't change the speed of the song, just the metronome. And if you have any questions, please email me at andy@rosenbergpianolessons.com. rosenbergpianolessons.com is spelled like this. Okay. If you're looking for online lessons, I do online lessons. You could go to rosenbergpianolessons.com/trial. If you're looking at this video on YouTube, you can leave a comment there. If you're looking at it on Reddit, leave a comment there. That's all I got. I hope this was helpful.